Silver sat on the crystal bench of his bedchamber. He smiled to himself because he knew this time would be different. He knew this would be the last time he would need to reside in this cursed crystal cell. This time, he had figured it out. He had found a weakness in their design. He was a gnome, after all. Gnomes didn't give up. Gnomes always persevered. The others would finally pay for banishing him to this prison. Ah, yes, the others. How long had he been trapped here? Days? Months? Years? How much time had passed? There was no way to tell because, in this damned prison, time didn't move. Years, days, and minutes drifted by like the sands of an hourglass. Only for Silver, the sands were invisible. Maybe they didn't even exist. Even the light itself had no source, no torches, nothing. They must have designed it this way, knowing that he could not age. He did not need to sleep because he never grew tired. His banishment did come with its advantages, however, in that he couldn't get sick. Silver had theorized that his cells could not be infected, since infection would require time. He couldn't even get so much as a sniffle. The darkness had seen to that. He thought back to the day the darkness had made itself known, back to the day when Silver was banished from his homeland of Hammerfall, the home of his dwarven ancestors. He hadn't even received a trial. He was simply cast out, like his first creations. The others called him mad. They labeled his experiments monsters. They forgot the hunger. They forgot the siege. They forgot the children coughing in tunnels stripped bare of food. Humans had sealed the mountain passes, nothing in, nothing out. The dwarves could mine all the ore in the world, but ore could not be eaten. The gnomes could calculate survival down to the last crumb, but numbers could not feed the young. He had watched them grow thin. He had watched mothers ration moldy grain. He had listened to elders whisper that perhaps surrender was better than slow death. So he did what was necessary. He created strength. Shock troops that shattered the blockade, warriors that broke human lines, soldiers that tore open the siege and let food flow once more. The mountains lived because of him, and for that, they called him Monster. In many ways, he was glad they banished him. It allowed him to continue his research and his quest to create the ultimate being. He was already a god. Eater was called the god of life, but in reality all he created were some animals and humans. Humans were not even perfect. There were flaws in their genetics, flaws that had caused his people to be enslaved. Without warning, the ground beneath him began to shake violently. Silver smiled. It had worked. The darkness had found him at last. He looked down and watched as a small black crack formed in the crystal floor. It seemed to draw the light of the room into it, as if it had a gravity of its own. Silver felt his foot begin to move toward the crack, as though he were being pulled into it. His foot slowly became gaseous and was pulled into the fracture. Silver watched as the process repeated itself until he became the air itself, almost like smoke. He was being absorbed into the floor. He smiled and allowed the darkness to envelop him, and within a few minutes the cell was empty. He was the darkness. Silver awakened to see nothing. The darkness was everywhere around him. He could understand what it wanted, even though no words were spoken. He nodded and watched as the world slowly came back into view. He was now in what appeared to be his lab. However, the lab itself was filled with a dark, smoke-like haze. The haze twisted and slithered around him, giving him chills as it brushed against his flesh. Once more, Silver instantly knew what he needed to do. He reached out his hand and pointed at a round black globe that hovered in the center of the room. The haze wrapped itself around his outstretched hand, and then around his arm like a constrictor snake, tightening, as if preparing to snuff out the life of its prey. Silver winced in pain as the haze grew tighter. It expanded and engulfed him once more. For the first time in his life, Silver felt fear, for he felt himself slowly becoming nothing. The darkness opened the eyes of its first ever host. It smiled, for it knew the light would not interfere. Its host had given himself freely to the darkness. None of the laws were broken, and therefore the light was powerless to intervene. The darkness caused its host to smile and used its legs to walk around the room, stopping at a dusty workbench. It reached out a small hand, opened the drawer, and removed a small bag. The darkness slowly untied the bag, threw it onto the floor, and watched as the bag began to pulsate as though it were breathing. Suddenly, a fiery arm shot out of the bag. Its clawed hands dug into the stone floor. Another arm followed as the first arm's muscles contracted and tightened. The bag stretched as it gave birth to a fiery creature. The creature rose to its feet, its horns screeching against the stone ceiling. It looked down at the small gnome standing before it.
"You are not yet free, demon,"
the gnome whispered, raising a dismissive hand. The demon turned but was stopped dead in its tracks. It turned its head and hissed as the gnome pointed to the bag.
"Are you forgetting something, Hellspawn?"
The gnome sneered.
"Where are the others?"
The demon knew this was no mere gnome. It sensed power, a power that made it feel insignificant. It knew it could not show weakness.
"I am all you will need."
The darkness smiled and shook its head.
"Do you think you can lie to me, Thazarus? I am every lie. You know you cannot do what I need, since you are not of this world. You will bring the others, or you will cease to exist. I need this world to know fear. Fear will be the power that feeds him."
"Yes, Master."
Thazarus hissed.
"Leave the bag here. The others will follow."
He flapped his bat-like wings.
"Now, release me."
The darkness waved his hand, and the demon was gone. The bag once again began to move. The darkness smiled and shut its eyes. Silver opened his eyes and found himself at the top of a mountain. He recognized the surrounding landscape. This was the same mountain located in the heart of the Badlands, the mountain that contained his lab. A roar drew his attention to the skies above. When he looked up, he nearly trembled in terror as a fear he had never known washed over him. A winged, red, reptilian creature hovered above him. Flames and smoke darted from its nostrils. The creature landed a few feet away and lowered one of its wings. Silver smiled and, using the creature's wing as stairs, climbed upon its back. With a snort, the creature launched into the skies, and Silver watched as the mountain quickly faded into the distance. He was free, and his plan was in motion. The darkness laughed silently to itself, and pondered how a creature so intelligent could be so foolish as to believe the plan was his own. It thought back to the first day. When the darkness first found him in the crystal, Silver had demanded release.
"I will die in here,"
he had said.
"You cannot die,"
the darkness replied.
"Not here."
"Then I will fade.
Silver spat.
I will lose myself."
"Not if I aid you."
Silver narrowed his eyes.
"Why would you help me?"
"Because I feel you,"
the darkness answered.
"I feel your power. I can make it stronger. I can release you."
"Then do it."
"Not yet."
Silver's jaw tightened.
"I do not have time."
"You have nothing but time,"
the darkness whispered.
"But when I return, you must give yourself to me."
"What does that mean?"
Silver demanded.
"You must allow me to use your form to free myself."
Silver hesitated.
"In doing so,"
the darkness continued,
"we will be unstoppable.
Silver's eyes burned.
First, I must have my revenge.
The darkness considered.
Granted, I will return, and when I do, be ready.
The darkness smiled and, just slightly, released control back to Silver. Then it sat back and waited.